Hey everybody, it's Mike Copera with podcastcondition.com, bringing the 79th episode of What You Drinking, and starting the night off with a couple of our regulars. We've got Dan and Brandon. How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been, like I said before in the pre-show, it's been a long week, so I'm looking forward to having a good beer. And last week we landed on smoked beers. So that opens up a lot of different styles, which surprisingly, the one that I had in my fridge from the beer tasting that we did a couple weekends ago, this one fell perfectly into that category with the style that I didn't really expect to bring into a smoked beer show. So I'm interested to see what you guys have, and then I'll talk about what I brought to the table here. But Brandon, you said you found a new location to get some beers up in your neck of the woods. So if you want to talk about that while you're showing us your beer and telling us what you found.
No, that's fine. I mean, I don't mind. I'd rather just talk about the beer personally.
Cool.
I mean, I've had this beer before. This is the New Belgium Lips of Faith series collaboration with Three Floyds. This is their Gratzer, which is a Polish-style smoked wheat beer. It's, of course, a dark. Well, it's a nice dark beer. It's got a nice head on it. And I've had this on draft before, and it's a very smoky beer. But this is one of those styles. Uh, it's 4.5% in this particular beer, but it's one of these styles that was pretty much almost extinct up until about like the 1990s. Then some craft brewers just started reviving. They've tried to revive it in Poland, but craft brewers have just really been taking this up along with other near extinct styles, the Goza and stuff like that. They've been doing stuff with it. So it was a pretty good. I've had the regular Gratzer before, which is I forget who makes it. Um, the same one. I forget who makes it. Same ones that make 1809. I just forget who makes it. But yeah. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble, so I'll let somebody else talk. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers, man. That's a good looking beer, dude. The head is like
Yeah.
perfect looking. Um,
Yeah.
that's awesome looking, actually. So, what is it? Is it what kind of smokiness are you getting out of it? Is it more of like, because it looks like that's kind of a hoppier beer, and it's a Three Floyds beer. So, what's your take on that? Like, is it hoppy at all, or is it just more smoke than anything else?
I'm getting plenty of that smoke. I mean, this beer is traditionally oak smoked. I have not looked up the information on the Belgian website, so I have to assume they use the oak smoked malt. That's just more the traditional element to it. I'm thinking of that smokiness. I mean, this is lower gravity beer, so I mean, any sort of predominant flavor or aroma is just any sort of predominant flavor is going to dominate that aroma. This sort of thing you notice. So. Really, I'm picking up a lot. I'm picking up a lot of smoke, but it's not heavy smoke. So
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for finding something that fits the wheel this week, and hopefully that like you get to continue enjoying that, and it should probably get some more flavors out of it as it warms up a little bit. So if that happens, we'll check back in with you on your beer. But Dan, what'd you end up bringing to the table this week?
Well, this is when I actually, last couple of weeks, I've gone to the local craft beer store here in Libertyville and did the Mix of Six on Mondays because they have a special going on then. And this was one I hadn't seen before, so I got it last week, and it just realized, hey, this is a peat smoke beer. That works. So it's furthermore, it's 3 feet deep, which is it's a dry stout, but they used peat smoked malts in there. We're out of Black River Falls, Wisconsin. I don't know what the ABV on this sucker is. I think this is around a 5% beer, but it's very sessionable. I mean, it's not crushing you as far as being ultra thick and oily. I mean, it's dark. The head kind of went up and then went away quick. You smell it, you get a hint of smoke, but mostly it smells a lot like your average Irish dry stout. Mm.
And I'm sorry, I was fixing an issue with my computer. What was the name of the beer and what was the style?
Oh, that was it's furthermore it is the brewery and 3 Feet Deep is the name of the beer.
Nice.
Here, just in case you missed that. So, yeah, the brewery it looks like it's about midway in between Madison and Minneapolis. So if you're ever going up to Minneapolis, it's right off of 94. So it'd be interesting to check out the brewery. But good, it's a solid, solid Irish dry stout with a little smoky character to it, and it suits it perfectly. So I guess there used to be a lot more peat smoked malts back in the day when they were brewing over in the UK. They kind of went out of favor, and now they're back again. So good stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't know that they had much available here in the Chicago area, so I'll have to keep my eyes open for that. I think I might have seen that beer and saw the label and thought it was what is the other? There's a couple breweries that are using those roots as the logo for their beer or brewery. So now I can't remember if I had seen that beer or not. So I'll definitely keep my eyes open to check it out next time I'm in the mood for that style.
Right.
So thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, what's going on?
Mike, how's things? How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Hey,
Sorry
Mike.
we were having some issues. I'm glad I checked my phone. I saw that you were trying to send me a couple calls here.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
having issues too, and I don't know what the issue was, but I'm here now. So you saw that I was trying to join?
It's just that it looked like you were trying to send me an incoming video call, but it wasn't. I don't think it was like you trying to join this one. So and when I saw that,
Gotcha.
I just sent you another invitation. So I figured that's how you got on.
All right, well, thanks for that.
Hey, no problem. So what did you bring to the show tonight for us to
I
drink?
have the Stone Smoked Porter,
Nice.
Very nice.
which I've seen, all over the place. It's been around a long time, and it's pretty readily available, but I've never had it. So I figured now is as good a time as any, and it's fantastic. And I'm embarrassed that I've never had it until up to now. I feel like I've been missing out.
It's been a very long time since I've had that, and you're a good surprise. It's really good one. But like I haven't had that one in forever either, so I'm interested to see what you think.
Yeah, it's got a great the smokiness of it. I think it's perfect. It's not too much. But you notice it, you smell it, you taste it. But then there's a bunch of other flavors that come in too. There's sort of I can't pin it down, but there's a little bit of like I don't want to say citrus, but maybe like a berry, like a cherry or like something dark, some sort of dark fruit, and then definitely chocolate at the end. I get a little bit of chocolate flavor too, and I think this is really well done in terms of the smokiness. They definitely got the levels right between that and the malts and the different flavors they have going on. It's a great balance.
Nice, sounds good, man. I'm glad you got to try something new that you hadn't
Yeah.
had a chance to have yet. So that's cool. I've got something interesting that I kind of like it, but there's something about it that's kind of bugging me. But this is a brewery that, well, it's a beer that's brewed from. It's a collaborative in this version. But last week, I think I showed on camera I had the other beer from Against the Grain. So this is the other one that I had in there, and it's called Little Did We Know, and it's a sage smoked saison
Hmm.
with a cool little label. But I guess this is brewed between Stillwater Artisanal Brewing and Against the Grain. So this one's interesting, except that I don't know. Do you know that off flavor that you get in beer that tastes kind of like a Band-Aid?
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm actually online right now trying to see what causes that. So the medicinal or Band-Aid like flavor, there's cause of various phenols which are initially produced by the yeast. So I don't know. It's a weird flavor I'm getting off of this beer, but I think what it is that um, the smokiness, and then this is also it looks like this was supposed to be a bit sour too. So I think those two combinations aren't really good. They don't really complement each other very well, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. I'm gonna let this. I've had a couple sips and it's gotten a little bit better. So maybe it was just a little bit of a shock to my system because I've never had anything like this before. And I think this would be a lot better if it was just not if it didn't have any sour characters to it. It would really be a pretty damn good beer. But I just can't get that combination to work very well yet.
Hmm.
But it looks really good. It's a nice, beautiful orange color.
Those look nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think they did a they had a good idea. I just don't know if it works yet. So I'll let you know as the show goes on if this kind of settles in a little bit more for me. So what's new, man? We had a pretty big event here in Chicago. I don't know if anything on your guys' ends of the neck of the woods. I know Mike, you're on the East Coast. I saw you forwarded me some Trillium news, uh, and no, I'm not tired of that ever coming. So keep that in push. I like hearing about that brewery a lot, actually, and
Yeah, I
Nice
feel like
project.
I feel like I'm always talking about it, but
I love that. No,
they're
it's
doing
it's
some
cool.
interesting things, and yeah, so I figured I'd share that with you. There was an article um, about Trillium's labels and where the artwork came from, and kind of the story behind where they came up with the ideas and stuff. So I sent that to Mike earlier this week.
Nice, and I haven't had a chance to read it fully, but I'm interested because I do love their labels. They're very interesting, and yeah, what would you have like a synopsis that you can kind of give us as far as what that story is about, or?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it was the guy who was designing the labels. Is someone who the owner of the brewery knew from kind of way back when, and they actually had a couple of designs uh, long ago, years ago, and because a couple of Trillium's beers were, the owner was making them before he opened the brewery, so a couple of the beers have been around a while, and they also had these labels, and kind of lo and behold, the artist is now kind of a higher up at a well-known advertising firm. But he's still, I forget one of the big companies that's one of his clients, whether it was a car company or something. It was someone huge. But then also Trillium is one of his clients too, just because they're friends and they've been working together forever. And so that was an interesting story. And then the artwork itself, it's based on kind of Boston landmarks and not just Boston, kind of focusing on the Fort Point area of Boston where Trillium is. So it was kind of neat, and you pick up on, it kind of goes into detail on some of the labels, and one of them is the lanterns that are on the bridge that you take to get from kind of downtown Boston to the Fort Point area, and it's the lanterns, but then they've modified them to kind of add in hops and barley and things on the lanterns that aren't there, but you never really would notice it. So it was kind of neat.
That's cool. I don't remember seeing the hops and stuff. I remember the lanterns because I think
Yep.
the labels are really cool, and I remember that being on one of the ones that you gave me, but I don't remember seeing the hops and stuff. So I'll have to take a look online to see the labels a little bit more closely. That's cool. So what was the beer that you were in line for that day that you picked up in the
Yeah,
growlers?
so they came out last week. They came out with two beers that they have never made before. One of them was a pale ale with Polaris hops, which I don't know the history of Polaris hops, but they said that it's a relatively new variety and they've never made anything with it before. And so they thought a good way of doing it was just make a pale ale and just load it up with Polaris hops. And so they had that on for growler fills, and so I got a growler of that. And then they also had the second double IPA they've made. It's called Vicinity, and quality beer. Just getting it right from the growler. I brought it home. I drank it that night, and it's just so fresh and it just tastes fantastic. Um, I really love the first double IPA they made. It's called Metal. I think that one's probably better, but this one is, it's right up there. It's a great beer.
Nice. Yeah, it's an amazing brewery, man. Everything I've had from them is great. So thanks for sharing that. Did you get a chance to try anything else out of the box that we sent you last week, or
Oh
just
yeah,
stuff like that?
so uh, yes, I did, and so I was very excited when the shipment arrived. Um, it I had the pumpkin ale that was in there from what's the name of it, Onion
The
Brewing
Wild
or
Onion.
Wild
yeah,
onion.
Wild Onion.
Yeah,
Uh, Definitely one of the best pumpkin beers I've had.
that's
It
one of
just
my favorite pumpkin beers, and that's one that like I don't and I live where we live now in the northern suburbs. We're like 25 minutes, if not less than that, from that brewery, and I've never been there yet. But that pumpkin beer comes out every year, and they can it, and it's one of my favorites. So I wanted to make sure that that one was sent to you because it's pretty local now, and
yeah,
it's like I said, one of my favorites in that style.
yeah, and that one, I mean, there's a ton of pumpkin. I mean, I feel like they, mashed a whole pumpkin into that can. But what I liked about it is that it didn't sacrifice the beer flavor. I mean, you could tell you're still drinking a beer. It wasn't like drinking pumpkin water, like I feel like some of these other ones end up being. This was a beer that had pumpkin in it, and it was just a ton of it. And I thought it was really well done. So I think that was great. And then the Pipeworks Citra is a great beer as
Citra
well.
Ninja.
Yep, yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's one of the
one.
double
I mean,
IPAs.
it's so
Yeah.
hoppy that I think what's the ABV? It's like 9.5 or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's so hoppy that it could easily be like 6 or something. Just you don't. I just didn't get the alcohol taste. You just don't taste it just because there's so much hops thrown into that thing.
Yeah, I always forget that that one's got such a high
Dangerous.
ABV. Yeah, it's
Very.
crazy. That's like a beer that they do a series of. So they'll do that beer in a new style of a different hop. So I think they're just releasing a new one as of this week. Actually, I just saw on their Facebook page. I was going to pull up, but I think it's like what is it, Nelson?
Oh, Nelson Sauvin.
Yeah, I think it's a
Mm.
Nelson Sauvin. Not Citra Ninja, but so I can't say the ninja without
Nelson Ninja.
yeah without putting Citra in there. It's funny. Let's see.
But yeah, so
Trying to think.
those have been the two so far, but I'm excited to go through the rest. I'm sure I'll make some good progress this week.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm glad to share some of those. So Brandon, what was the link you sent here? There's some new breweries in Mississippi coming up. These are
Yeah, right now, well, last month, Sweet Gum Brewing out of Starkville, Mississippi, started a concert brew with Lazy Magnolia. I've yet to have any of their beers. There's some there's another brewery in Natchez. We call it Natchez Brewing, and they're coming soon. Don't know when that's going to be, and of course, there's a couple along the coast and Gulfport and Biloxi that are looking to open in the near future as well. But like, there's another link that also points to different breweries and brew pubs in Mississippi, and it has been growing pretty much since really really been growing for the last few years. It is growing over here. I mean, I know I'm saying growing a lot, but that's the best way to describe it.
yeah, that Lazy Magnolia. I remember you sent me some beers from them. That's a really good place. That
Yeah.
sounds. Let's see. Yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. It looks like they got now does every state have a Brewers Guild? Because I know, Illinois and I know Michigan has theirs. I see it's posted here about the Mississippi Brewers Guild. But I wonder, is every state represented in that? Do you guys know anything about that?
I'm sorry, what?
How Illinois basically it's kind of a good segue for Dan to get into his story because the Illinois Brewers Guild just threw one of their biggest festivals here in Illinois just this past weekend, FOBAB, which is the festival of barrel aged. Yeah, what is it? What's the entire the name?
It's
Festival of
the Festival of Wood and Barrel Aged
Wood.
Beer. Yeah, but the W is silent, as they say.
Yeah, so it's so that's an Illinois Brewers Guild event, and it's one of many. But there's a Michigan Brewers Guild, and I see on the link that Brandon sent with the growing brew pubs that they have the Mississippi Brewers Guild. Is every state represented with that, or is there any that kind of lack that, or
Well, Louisiana has a Brewers Guild. I'll put a link to it. And even they don't have all the information from different breweries because, like I said, they have. Like I said, they don't have Gnarly Barley listed on there. They opened recently. They opened this year actually, and I've had a couple. I've had 3 of their beers already. Uh, they're out of Hammond, and of course they have a brew pub in Mandeville called the Old Rail. I never had any of their beer. I'm meaning to stop there on different road trips, take Louisiana, but yeah, there are a few others that have opened Louisiana as well. But so the guild sites may not always be up to date, so it depends. You have to look for the information, as always.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard for them to keep up with it simply because things are changing so rapidly too. I mean, these days there are just so many things that are popping up in all the markets. I mean, I know Chicago is plugged the wrong word, but they have a hard time keeping up with the number of new openings or potential openings coming up. So it makes perfect sense.
Right.
So
yeah. So like I had mentioned, there was a festival just this past weekend here in Chicago, FOBAB, which is a huge event, and it's one that kind of represents Chicago in a pretty big way when it comes to the craft beer world as a whole. Bourbon barrel aged beers were pretty much, the story is that it began here at Goose Island in Chicago, so it's it's pretty cool that they have this event every year. I remember going to a couple of these at the Goose Island in Wrigleyville. They used to have FOBAB in like the loading dock area behind the restaurant and pub. So it was a lot smaller, and it was a lot more interesting. A lot of cold air coming through. You had to stay bundled up because there was even an outside area. But it's in November, so it's cold out. And from the pictures that I saw online, Dan, it has grown into like a mini FOBAB because they had it at the UIC Pavilion this year, if I'm not mistaken. So why don't you
oh,
talk about
you mean like a mini
GABF?
yeah, GABF. Yeah, you said a mini.
What did I
FOBAB.
say?
It's like mini
Oh, did
FOBAB.
I?
It's like
Sorry, I did
no,
mean
but
mini GBF.
no, that's like yeah, I kind of thought, but no, it's kind of
It
funny.
did. It looked like a small little convention going on over there this year.
I mean, it was, and actually, it's kind of funny too that you say mini FOBAB because I was reading up on it a little bit, and the way that it started, it was actually a bunch of guys getting together, I think at Rock Bottom, that were local, and saying let's do this. I don't think there's another barrel aged beer festival out there. Why don't we start one? And they did it on April 1st, 12 years ago. This is the 12th FOBAB this year, and people didn't come because they're like, yeah, right. These are going to be the rarest beers on the face of the planet, in the second floor of the Rock Bottom Brewery in Chicago. Whatever. So it's kind of gone from that to Goose Island, like you're talking about. They had it in it was a historical area of south side of Chicago for a couple of years. Last year being the last, and this year they just started up the UIC Forum. Which is definitely more of a convention atmosphere. I get the feeling that before they were a bit more intimate. This is definitely sort of getting into the GABF sort of league of, or not conventions, but of beer shows or beer festivals. And to the point where I think there was something like 275, 250 beers, and you couldn't get through it all. I mean, especially because, oh yeah, I mean, especially considering the alcohol by volume average is probably somewhere around 12% on these.
Yeah.
You wouldn't survive. I mean, it was funny. We actually ended up going. We were there are 3 sessions this year. Traditionally, it's been 2. They had a Friday session this year, which was Friday evening. They had 2 sessions on Saturday. There's an afternoon and evening. We had the afternoon session from 1 till 5. We got in probably at about 1:10 from the line, and we left at about 4 because we couldn't. We were running out of tickets, but we just didn't know how to spend them anymore because we were just like, we're gonna die.
So they were actually taking tickets this year?
Oh yeah, well, it was one of those things where if they didn't ask, I wasn't going to push it, but a lot of the times they were asking. And I mean they've got to. It's probably a smart policy at that thing because 2-ounce pours, they had 15 tickets. You're talking about 30 ounces of 10 ABV beer. That's a lot of 10% beer or 12% beer. But it was pretty cool. They had you first got in there, and the first thing that you saw right off the bat, and this was kind of ludicrous, was there's the main floor. It's basically 2 rows of tables that are sort of separated by a black curtain, so that you have tastings on each side of the curtain, basically. And then that configuration goes all the way through the hall, so you can kind of snake your way through these tables, just lines and lines of tables. And the way they have it set up is by category, so it's not by brewery station. So like you can't get all of the Goose Island beers at one place, or all of the Spiteful beers at one place, or all of the the artisanal ales brews at one place. So you have to go to the style and then see what's there, which is kind of a neat way of doing it.
That's interesting. I like that, actually.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool, but you saw that going in, and immediately you looked to your right, and there was Goose Island's sort of, I don't know, it wasn't a booth, but it was sort of their island that they had set up. It's sort of the primary exhibitor, sponsor, haven. But they had all their various different, variations on Bourbon County Stout and all the sister beers they were pouring there. But the line was literally about 1/3 of a mile long. I mean, it was at that point I kind of looked over there and I said, I could stand in line there for an hour and get a beer, or I could spend the next couple of hours going to places that I have no chance of getting any beer from in the near future or distant future, and try all the stuff that I can't possibly get very easily.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's kind of the way we had to end up playing it. And let's see, the first one we started off with was Spiteful's. I think I've brought this beer up before. It was their Pirate Pigeon Peanut Butter Porter that had been barrel aged.
Ooh, how is that barrel aged?
Barrel aged, I have to say, I preferred the original base beer. I did not think that the barrel added much. Now, give it a little time to calm down the barrel characteristic, that might have a different story. But then the peanut butter would probably fade at that point. So, it's one of those things where, sometimes these experiments work and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they need more time to know for sure. That one, I think, was a more time to know for sure. But, I mean, after that, it was a huge list. I'll just go through some of these. I had the barrel-aged Jetty Imperial Stout. That was a good one. The Mecca Hugs. Mike will know that one. That's the Big Hugs from Half Acre. That's barrel-aged. That one was pretty good. It wasn't... I mean, that was another one where it could have calmed down a little bit, but I think that it was a solid beer. The Grim Vicar from Goose Island is awesome. That was, I think, a Imperial Stout that was in red wine barrels. And I've had that kind of red wine barrel style before from Victory, and I was not thrilled. This was an amazing beer, one of my favorites. Working Mom from Revolution was, I think, one of those that was in 2 different kinds of barrels that they blended. That was, I think it was a brown ale, an Imperial brown ale, that they did in a bourbon and a rum barrel, and then they blended. So, just to kind of it goes down the line from there. Dino Snores from Off Color. I'll just go through some of my favorites now at this point, because otherwise it's going to take forever. Um, let's hear. Oh, the Buffalo Trace Icebox from Glacier Brew House in Alaska. That was an amazing beer. I'd never had an icebox before, but that style, once you concentrate the flavors, really makes an amazing base for the barrel characteristics to lay on top of that, or to kind of infuse. And that came off. That was a great tasting beer. Um, the last one I want to kind of point out as a standout was the Fremont Brewing I think they're out of Washington. They had the bourbon barrel aged Abominable. I also had their Dark Star too, which was great. But both of those beers, especially the Abominable, were just outstanding. And you can't get those in the Chicago area. So, I mean, you can tell just from me rattling on and on, that's what walking through the place was like. It just rattles on, and you kind of look and you go, what do I do? Yeah. Or you go, oh, I'm going to go here. Oh, no, I'm going to go here.
So what style was mostly represented? I assume the darker stouts and things like that, but I'm curious because I'd be surprised if I'd hear that it's anything else. What was the majority there?
That's hard to tell. I mean, because part of the reason it's hard for me to tell is I gravitated mostly towards the heavier barrel-aged, well, not heavier barrel-aged, but the darker barrel-aged beers. But there was a pretty good representation. I had like a couple of sours. Like there's what was it, the Gascon, what is it, the Chevalier de Gascon from Three Floyds. I'm murdering that name, I'm sure. But it's a sour with blueberries in it. I think that they've had on their beers to go for a long time now. It was good, but it wasn't a $25 beer, which is probably why they still have a lot of bottles of the $25 beer. But there were a lot of sours. There were plenty of wild ales. They had a big experimental category where it was kind of hard to tell if they were darker beers or lighter beers, or probably a mix. I saw a number of barrel-aged saisons. There was one by Spiteful that they'd done in what is that spirit that tastes like licorice?
Sambuca?
No, not Sambuca. It's French. What is it? I know this. Hold on. Here, I'll go back to the list. Sorry. Oh, Absinthe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Absinthe barrel-aged The Sail guy. I forget if that was a Saison or a Belgian. And that one I wasn't quite as, that was kind of the downside to some of this too, is that you get these experimentations. I think some people like that more than I did because they can get past the licorice. I don't think that flavor married well with a lighter, base malt beer. So, yeah, that's kind of the long of it. But yeah, it was a fun time. I really enjoyed that one. Probably the best fest I went to this year.
So how was the? Did you go to any pre or after parties for FOBAB? I don't know if there was anything that you had planned on going to, but did you end up falling into any of these parties? Because I heard some of them can get pretty amazing with the releases that they put out. So.
Serious? Yeah. No, nothing so cool as that. We kind of did the low rent version by. Actually, this was kind of funny. We got there at about, it was a 1 o'clock session. We probably walked by at about 10 or 5 till noon. People were already lined up. So the friend and I that were going decided to walk down the street to the bar. And we're like, we're not waiting in line. We're too old to be waiting out in this weather. Screw that. So we get in there, and sure enough, what do they have on tap? Bourbon County Stout 2013. So that became sort of our, exactly, that was sort of our pre and post festival stop. But other than that, no, we didn't get to any of the parties. We got to sneeze, so pardon me.
Yeah, so that's awesome, man. I just wanted to also mention the piece that we posted on podcondition.com regarding. You mentioned, what Goose Island was going to bring to FOBAB in a small section of it, but majority of the articles based on next week's big event, which is the day after Thanksgiving, when most people are standing in lines to get nice discounts on televisions and things like that. Beer geeks stand in line, especially in the Chicago area, to pick up the new Bourbon County releases. So, from what I understand, I was listening to a podcast locally here in Chicago called the Chicago Beer Pass, and it's Brad Chmielewski from Hopcast, and it's what's his name? I'm sorry if I forget this. It'll come to me, but the other guy, his name is Mike something. He's from Chicago Beer Geeks, and they do a weekly podcast on beer events that are coming on in the Chicagoland area and the suburbs surrounding. So they actually did an interview with a couple guys from. Well, they did an interview last week with Justin Maynard from the Illinois Brewers Guild for FOBAB, but they did this week all about the Black Friday release and what variants are coming out and what they did to blend these. And it's most people have Bourbon County Stout on their minds, a couple weeks or the maybe the month before and after, and then they've had them, and then they put the rest of them in their cellars, and that's that. Well, they talked about how like Bourbon County Stout is like every single day, 24/7. 365 days a week, when they're doing that, because they've got that whole new warehouse, and they were talking in this podcast about the different blendings that they do for this beer, and man, it's such a cool thing that they're doing, and it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the acquisition of Goose Island. So as much as people might hate to hear it, and when that happened, they were upset. But this is it's a good opportunity to get some really good beers. And if you're not a stout guy, I get that. But for any beer geek out there, this is I think Bourbon County Stout is probably one of the best barrel-aged stouts that you can get out there. It's the original, and it seriously to me is really good fresh too. It ages very well. I think it says up to 5 years on the bottle. But, I mean, a fresh Bourbon County Stout is still amazing, in my opinion. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, Dan? Do you usually age it first, or do you have a preference?
Oh, no, I definitely do both. Well, this year, this year I had the 2013, and it was really the first year that I'd hung on to them long enough to appreciate the difference, sad to say. But... Yeah. It was a different experience. I don't know if better or worse is our preference. Wow. I think that you definitely if you like the bourbon end of it, you should drink it fresh. I think that that's clearly. Not because you lose that much over time, but because it really is so potent when you first get that beer on release. That if that's what you're going for, just drink it fresh, because that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. After that, if you like to see what starts happening after that, it's worth keeping for a few years to find out. Like this year, it'll be interesting to see if it changes next year. This year was what I call the vanilla caramel year. 2013 tasted like vanilla caramel, which was very different. There was a little more, I think, of a coffee flavor when it came out fresh, and much more of the bourbon barrel heat. So not as much heat, but much more vanilla off the barrel. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's. I'm excited for next week. I'm actually taking the day off of work this time, so I can actually join the fun and not just sit there being the only one in the office watching everybody tweeting pictures of their spot in line and how much beer they got. So it should be interesting.
Is it only sold at the brewery?
No, it's most of we have a larger chain here in Chicago called Binny's. And they're all pretty much going to have people lined up. I saw the Binny's in Lakeview. They're going to have like free coffee out for the people standing out in line and everything.
Oh, nice.
But
nice.
Yeah, the brewery itself. I'll look up the details, unless anyone else wants to do it while I'm mentioning it. But I know Goose Island is doing like some crazy event the day of the release. I think it's a ticketed event. What was that?
Oh, are they? I know. I had no idea, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Let me pull up their website really quick. Usually, you got to go through that whole stupid thing where you got to tell them that you're 21. And know, it's like, yeah, no kid can figure this out. So.
Exactly. That's right. We got we got a lot of.
It's a real tough gate to get through.
It's
Yeah,
really so
exactly.
stupid. I mean, and it's like, okay, and if a kid does get on your website, they still can't buy beer on the website. So it's like, what's the point of putting that stupid thing in? Okay,
Well,
so
now this is weird. If it's an event, they still have Coach on and Migration Week, and that's it under their events. So if this is something they're doing for the website, they're not making it very well broadcast. Unless they
yeah,
have to use. No, they don't. They have events.
and they won't let me
History.
go any. I can't
Yeah,
go
I
to.
just tried too. It's like their age gate isn't working, I think.
I know, like I can only get to
It's a bug.
1983. I can't go any earlier than that or later than that.
Hold on. Goose Island BCBS event. Google.
But anyways, so they don't, Mike. Do they do anything as far as a release? I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but like for even just like the standard Bourbon County Stout and the 4-packs that they do, is there much of a an allotment out there? Do you remember last year, or do you just
I
not
haven't
even
seen
see
it.
it?
I mean, I wasn't looking for it either, but I haven't seen it, and I'm definitely going to look for it this year. So stay
You should ask
tuned.
that. You should ask that little place that you saw that just popped open when we were
Yes.
visiting earlier. So you should ask if they're going to have any, because I'll bet you anyone. I don't know. Those are the kind of places that I think of. Because Dan, didn't you say that last year they had some at like the Mariano's grocery stores, right? And they just sold it like a normal beer, and people just went in there. I mean, was it a kind of a mess there of beer geeks trying to go there as well, or did you just kind of luck out and say, holy shit, I got Bourbon County from Mariano's?
No, I definitely lucked out on that one because what happened was that I went to the initial shot at the Buffalo Grove Binnies, and I came home, and I actually was literally like home for a couple hours thinking, well, it'd be nice if I could get some for for someone else in the group who didn't get it, because I think at that point Kevin had mentioned that he wasn't going to probably be able to get any, so I was like, well, it'd be nice if he was able to get some. And I was like, I wonder if Benny's has any. So I called them up, and they're like, yeah, we had the regular, still got one. You interested? I was like, yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, so I mean, Benny's had. Well, actually, I think Whirlyball in Vernon Hills here. They have. I mean, they had it on tap this week. It was the Brew Club this week, the Lake County Home Brewers Club. So and I couldn't get it on tap because I just had to. I had it the night
You're a little
before.
phobabbed out.
Oh God! Well, no, because it was the week. It was just before Fobab, but I was like, I'm gonna have this at Fobab. I just had it last night before the show because Firkin had tapped it, last Wednesday. But yeah, I mean, places like that. I think actually Firkin here in Libertyville is another place where you get these places that will have bottle releases. Some of them will have more variations or variants than others, but and like Mariano's had none. But it's wide. It's weird because it is widely distributed, but it's sometimes in places that are unexpected. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It should be an interesting day. I may be bouncing from store to store. I might just decide, one 4-pack's good, and I'm okay with that. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
So from what you're from your experience last year and what you wrote in the article. So now, did you? I don't know. Did you hear anything this year about what sort of allotments are going to happen? Because I asked my local Binnies here in Arlington Heights, and they had one story, and I thought I read something on the Binnies website or something. I actually saw one of the Binnies representatives from the Lakeview location posting on Beer Advocate saying, you can buy this much and this and this, or so. What have you heard? Because I didn't like what I heard, so I'm going to let you you say what you might hear first, and I'll say if it matches what I was told as well.
Well, I think that first of all, when it comes to Binnies, I'll tell you this much: it seems like there's a lot of autonomy and differentiation between the stores. Like I can tell you for a fact, like the Lincoln Park store is going to be pouring, Bourbon County Stout on the day of.
Yep.
Anywhere else, that's not going to happen. So right there, there's a difference right there. As far as what will be released, I won't say exactly what my guy at Buffalo Grove said because I don't know. He sent me a private message, so I don't want to broadcast it.
Mhm.
But it was a different and more favorable message than what you got from the sound of it.
Okay.
Um, but I think, and actually, then to contrast with all that, I was talking to Dave over at the craft beer store in Libertyville here, and saying, well, how are things looking on your end? He's like, I have no idea. I'm kind of new in. I get that, but it's really hard to peg down exactly what I'm going to get, if anything. But I try to sell as much of the product as I can. A lot of it is that game. It's sort of like who's moving the most Goose Island. They're probably going to be the one who gets the prize. So yeah, I think that's what it comes down to is that if you are in a Binny's that moves a lot of product or in a Binny's that doesn't move as much product, that's going to do a lot to determine from Binny's to Binny's.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I got that too, and I also was told because you said Buffalo Grove, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's Lake County, isn't it?
Yes.
So I was told that there's a difference between what the Cook County and the Lake County locations might get. So that's where I was told it was kind of like, you never know. But so I don't know. I don't mean to keep talking about something that's not local to everybody here. So I apologize, guys. Brandon, did I send you one last year? I thought I did. I can't remember. Okay, cool. Did you ever open that yet, or did you keep it for a year or
I
so?
opened that one. Opened it. It was, like I say, it's a pretty solid beer, fresh. As far as the Urban County variants go, I mean, the coffee is very intense fresh because there's just a lot of coffee in it. So that's one that's not really it's really not a bad idea to age that would, if just to let the coffee just kind of mellow out just a touch.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely. There's a joke in the comments. It's probably gonna be somebody camping overnight and probably a grill or two out there, depending upon the Lord.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know. Do they allow camping? I know I can't believe people are doing that. I saw like on the news like already people are camped out in front of a Best Buy at some point for like Christmas stuff already. Like go get a job. Like if you worked right now from this point until Christmas or Black Friday, you'd have enough to like pay the stupid difference on the dumb TV that you're sitting outside for.
Yeah. I think the best deals are actually like 2 days before Christmas. A lot of times, they're just really looking to move stock by that point. So it's like last minute, you're going to get some good deals. So there you go.
Yeah, I agree. I still just don't understand why people hang out outside like overnight in front of a store, like and they like get into fights. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
You're much better off spending your time standing in line for beer. With like-minded people. So yeah, I don't know. I agree, Brandon. I'm hoping I can get my hands on the coffee this year because that's one of them, right? They brought that one back, or is it okay?
Well, wait. I was going to say about coffee because that one's a weird one too because that normally comes in a 4-pack.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those ones where I'm not sure if they're going to be releasing it as 4-packs or if most stores are going to be breaking those into single bottles. Because last year they broke them into single bottles. So you got a single bottle of Proprietors, which was a bomber, but you only got a single bottle of coffee, which was a 12-ounce bottle. So it was, I don't know if that increased this year or not. I hope.
I don't know. I can't get on their website because it's a stupid website. Literally, I'm on there, and all I have is the Black Friday countdown that's going on. And
I can't get on.
I can't enter the year that I was born, so it won't let me in because the website's stupid. I mean, it looks pretty, but
I did some quick Googling though, and it does say what I've seen from unknown sources is that at least some of those bourbon counties are going to be available nationwide. So
Yeah.
That's
I'll
good.
hold out hope, and I'll look around, and I'll see what I can do.
Go
From
get them.
from that podcast that I saw or that I listened to that I mentioned, I meant to say, they said that everything except for proprietors should be available pretty widely. So,
Yeah.
keep your eyes open for that. But I mean, Dan, your article should have everything in there anyways, right?
Yeah. No, and from the sound of it, the one that you really want to aim for, maybe even more than the proprietors, is the vanilla rye.
Yes.
That sounds like the vanilla was the one that they brought back because people were so enamored with the original, and this time they did it in rye whiskey barrels, and it sounds like it's an outstanding beer. So, anyone out there, if you want priorities set, there you go.
Yeah, I found one in my cellar from last year that I forgot that they made. It was like a mulberry or some kind of do you remember that, Dan?
Yeah, that was the backyard rye variant that was in the bomber. That was like mulberries. Yeah, they literally went to a mulberry tree, and they went to yards in Chicago and picked.
Oh yeah, that was when they went to
Yeah.
what was the park in right near where I used to live, like Ukrainian Village and then Humboldt Park. So they actually went to Humboldt Park and climbed up and took out the mulberry trees and used those for I forgot about that. Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I should probably open that one in the next year or two then, because that's last year's and that only would probably fade away after a while.
Yeah, but I mean, it's only a year old. I mean, and this was an interesting one. It's kind of a side story, but it relates. I was talking to someone at the last brew club about the orange truffle abduction, and he said that he had a 2-year-old one where the orange had faded a lot more, which I could see because the orange had faded a little bit when we opened up in 1 year, but it was the difference between 1 year and 2 years sounded dramatic. So that kind of relates back to what we're talking about, and that with the berry flavors, it might be that you only want to sit on that one for a year because you don't want that to completely go into oblivion. So.
Thanksgiving's next week. That sounds like a good fall beer to drink during the holidays when you spend time with your loved ones. So yeah, I'm excited for next week. It's an exciting time, I think, for all beer geeks, but mostly, it goes a little crazier here in Chicago for it. But hopefully, you guys will see some of it as well. And if not, I'm happy to do some trading again as usual. So how's everybody's beer doing? Brandon, I saw your notes that yours is kind of getting better as it's warming up. Is there?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it had a humongous head. I mean, a wheat beer is going to have a massive head. You're going to have more of that lace. You're going to still get the smokiness there, and there's some tartness from the lacto in it. Not very severe, though. We're not talking Berliner Weiss type level of tartness, but it is there. It's got some sweetness to it, but it's not heavy. I mean, the smokiness there to balance that out. You get some of that mild arsenal lacto. It's just such an easy drinking beer. But it's not one of those. It's an easy drinking beer, but it's not something you really want to pound either. So that's another thing about it. But like I said, it's solid. I got to say, I like it better in the bottles than I did on draft. So that's a rarity for me.
Nice. How about you guys? Anything changing in your beers yet?
Actually, I got through the first one, and then I went to the Evil Twin Falco, which is a IPA. That was a good beer. It was one of those. It was kind of an impulse buy because the store here in town has recently gone over to doing a 4-pack mix of 4. So you can mix the more premium beers together. And Falco, I don't know if I put Falco in a premium beer category in terms of what it is, but since it's higher price point, it goes there. Yeah, there you go. Rocky Amadeus. Oh, you had to go there, didn't you, Brendan?
Yes, I did.
Damn you! But it was actually a really good IPA. That was a solid IPA. And Evil Twin it's an interesting brewery, because it's another one of those gypsy breweries that puts out some interesting stuff. You know you're going to get something good, but you're never quite sure what it's going to be in the end because they're going to do something funky. And the hops on there were a little funky, but it was a good in a good way. So now I am switching over to Sculpin at this point.
So you've already gone through the Evil Twin? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I did while we were talking.
Nice.
Flying through these beers tonight.
I am.
I'm still like milking mine. It's a little bit better for me, but I just don't think this works very well. I think this actually has Brettanomyces in it too, which is kind of crazy in my mind to do a smoked beer with. But I don't know. I'm sure it's been done before, but I just don't. I just don't think it's a good combination. I don't dislike this beer, but I think it could be. I don't know. I think if it wasn't so much sour and you kept the saison style and the yeast and everything, but and stuck with the smoke too. But I just don't think the sourness fits this very well. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. But I don't dislike it. Oh my God, I've just been seeing so many posts on Facebook lately about people who like. They'll like post like a 6-pack of beer with one missing, and they're like, "Oh, this sucks. So I'm gonna drain pour this." And you're just like, you don't know shit about beer, and you're like just trying to buy the first thing that comes out. Like it was a Revolution Fistmas, which is like their holiday beer, and I normally like that beer a lot, but I thought it was lacking a little bit. From previous years' versions, but I mean, I don't know. I could be just not remembering it right, but I saw somebody post like one can open of that, and you were like, "This sucks. I'm dumping it all out," and posting it on like Facebook. I don't even want to mention like the page that it is because I follow it on Facebook because it's good news and a good news source for Chicago beer news, but like. There's so many douchebags that post on there, and I literally don't do beer reviews anymore because I just generally don't like them anymore. When I read them or I see these videos, the people kind of shredding and the elitist mindset to me is it just drives me crazy. So I haven't done like when I post something on Untapped, I usually don't even put a rating on anymore. I just put a picture and a check in that I had it. Like if anyone wants to know what I thought, I'd be happy to post some comments. But like, I just don't have any. I don't have any desire to to do them much anymore. I don't know. I like doing it on the show, and just talking about it as I'm drinking it because it could always change anyways, and everyone's tastes are different. So there's a lot of people that just say like some random things online that just drive me crazy. So I try not to like post too much on there as far as my opinion because, like I said, I mean if it's something I think it's worth the money to buy the beer, I think then I'll mention it. But I usually don't. I haven't done too many beer reviewing lately, so.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are a lot of people who I think thrive off of bad reviews. I mean, you see it in theater a lot. Theater is one of those things where there's almost this culture of how extreme can I be in ripping apart the show that I just saw, and it's sort of valorized. And I think that in beer culture, that there can be that too. But I think that's absolutely the right approach. Is that there are bad beers out there, but you don't have to bring them up, and you should probably lift up the ones that are good, rather than put into a glaring spotlight the ones that are bad. Because what do you want to kind of highlight? What people should be drinking or what people shouldn't be drinking?
Exactly, and it's you'll see a lot of times those people that have those troll type comments. You go to their feed and like everything is like that, and it's just because they're just dicks, and
yeah.
And half of the reviews I listened to. I discovered a new podcast from the West Coast, and honestly, I hate the host. I hate him so much, but he's so knows his shit about beers so much so that I have no choice but to keep listening. I like everybody else on the show, so that definitely plays a big part in it. But like, I've never been involved in listening to a show and being like a big fan, listening to every episode that I can get my hands on so far at this point. And I completely dislike the attitude and the personality of the host himself. Um, it's funny because he's like such a hipster asshole that just like really will just rip into anything, and he'll basically speak as if his opinion is fact, and it drives me nuts. But the fact of the matter is, like, what he spews out when it comes to his beer knowledge is pretty awesome. So it keeps me watching. I don't know how I got on that tangent, guys, so I apologize. I saw a couple.
Anyway,
I saw too many things online today that pissed me off. But we are coming to the end of the show, so I should probably bring up the wheel and see what we want to modify on here, if anything.
Is there a show next week?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
So depends.
Well, I mean, is the day before Thanksgiving going to be an issue for anybody?
Not for me.
Not for me.
All right. So let's.
Probably not for me, actually.
All right. So let's plan on it, and if you guys change your mind and it comes to being an issue, we'll make a last minute call. No big deal. So we've got quite a bit on here still, but I'm going to take off the smoked beer. All right, so we've got the wild card. Anything is a collaboration. Anything from the cellar. Anything canned. We got blended beers. Anything local. Oktoberfest, Harvest Ale, sour, barley wine. Any beer you can't pronounce. That's gonna be a fun one.
You might want to take Oktoberfest off because I think those are going to be hard to find pretty soon.
Yeah, I think Harvest Ale is going to be a little difficult to do. Those are pretty much off.
Yeah, I mean, if we do an Oktoberfest episode and it's like, say, January, or else we drinking Spaten or Polliner.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Either that or something that's probably not so fresh anymore. So
Right.
I agree. So let's see. Beer you can't pronounce. We've got Special Release, malt liquor for Brandon still. We've got the Doppelbock, a death label. So anything on the label that is tied
That's
to
right.
death.
I forgot the death label. That's awesome.
I know. I forgot some of these. Anything as far as estranging.
There you go. Case in point. Oh no, Brandon was holding up the Three Floyds and New Belgium.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's a great one.
It was
It's a cool label.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a
Cool label is the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, sorry. It's supposed to be a dead style, so it's kind of a play on that. It's undead. It's back.
Nice.
Yeah, and of course there are zombies riding bicycles. That's like the New Belgium thing, the bicycle stuff. So I think it's pretty cool. Sorry.
I think that's a badass label.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because I just thought of this. Is that I'm surprised that there hasn't been an Atlanta or Georgia brewery that has done a Walking Dead beer.
Really? You're right. I mean, that's crazy. I remember when Breaking Bad was coming to an end. Joe D from Share a Beer. He was in. Was he actually in? Where did Breaking Bad? What city was that? Was that? It was Albuquerque. So yeah, he lived there, didn't he? During that time, there was a brewery that had like 2 or 3 beer releases that were Breaking Bad related. So. You're right, man. Walking Dead's too big to ignore in that area. So there's got to be somebody out there like Athens. There's been some breweries actually popped up in a few episodes, hasn't there, Brandon? I think you and I texted during an episode one week. Maybe it was like a year ago. It was like a warehouse.
Yeah, it wasn't Sweetwater.
I want to say it was Terrapin.
Sweetwater and Terrapin.
Yep, those Terrapin. Oh, Sweetwater and Terrapin?
I think it was one of the two. I can't remember.
Both of them.
But that was kind of cool. But I think
Nice.
you're right, Dan. Somebody should definitely do a beer geared towards that. So we've got anything with a strange ingredient. There's a milk stout, a brown ale, and a Scotch ale. So
What about
Yeah.
a beer from a brewery that would be easy for us all to get, like something from Stone or something from Lagunitas or
Oh
Ghost
yeah.
Island, like
Yeah, drink
any beer you
local.
want to have from that brewery, and we'll just kind of see what people come up with.
Or Sierra Nevada.
Yep, Sierra Nevada would work.
okay. Now, do we want to do this where if we land on that on the wheel for that week, do we establish that we all grab the same beer if we can, or do we just grab a different beer from that
No,
particular brewery that we establish? Because it'd be
either
kind of
way.
cool to talk about the same beer, but then at the same time, since we all can get oh, my dog's crying. Hang on a second.
No. Indy.
Come here. That's weird. So anyways,
Actually,
we can.
that's not a bad idea. Is if we did the same beer, we could also take note of what we spent, what the date on it is.
That's a good idea.
That's
That
an
sort of
awesome
thing
idea.
too.
I think that's.
That is a good idea.
Oh, you know what it is? Okay, well then let's do this. Let's do local brewery seasonal releases
Okay.
because that's a time that everybody's got their seasonal release. It might not be exactly the same style, but it's probably going to be pretty similar. Everybody usually puts up a lot of the same stuff at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
one too.
yeah.
All right. Cool. So seasonal release.
Well, I was thinking like the local seasonal release, so we kind of.
Yeah, I have local brewery season release.
That's perfect. Yeah, to combine the two, that's awesome. I like that.
All right. So there's that, and then how do we want to word the other one, Mike?
I don't know. I mean, do you just want to pick a brewery and a beer and just go with it? It's got to be something that's year round, and it's got to be something that's generally available everywhere.
I say I don't know if we should all have the same beer. Maybe the same brewery. I don't know. What do you?
I like that, and I like Sierra Nevada is a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sierra Nevada is a good choice.
Yeah, they're 50
Yeah,
cents.
I'll just put same brewery, and then if we land on it, we can decide, if that's the brewery we want to do, or does that work
Yeah.
out?
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, I think adding those two should do a pretty decent job here. So let's add that to the wheel, apply the changes, and give it a little spin. Let's go. We don't have the drum roll for Skylar. I saw that he sent a message not too long ago, but it says
Blended beers.
blended beers. So, I forgot if we ever established, does
Yeah,
that
what's the
mean,
definition of this?
so does that mean we want to, like blend like sours and there's different, imperial stouts that go together to blend into, its own beer, or do we ourselves buy two different beers and blend them together to see what comes out of that?
I think that was it. I think that this was the experimentation episode, the mad scientist episode. It's not just a black and tan anymore.
Yeah.
So now we just have to ask you to spend a little bit extra this week and buy two beers instead of the one.
Yeah, and pray.
Exactly. Hopefully you don't ruin it.
Right.
So we're testing our blending skills this next week. So that should be fun, man. I'm excited for the final episode before Thanksgiving, which that'll be our 80th episode, which is so crazy that we've done that many so far.
It is.
But so I appreciate you guys making it this week as you always do. So let's see. I just want to make sure we promote everything here. We're always going to be posting this week. So if you're watching now, we don't have any viewers here. Usually we have like one or two, but this week we didn't have any. So if you're watching this on YouTube as a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. Please rate and comment these videos. It helps us with, judging on how we're doing. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about. If we're boring you guys, let us know on any certain topics. If we're talking about something too much, like Furman County Stout lately. But yeah, you subscribe to us on podcastcondition.com, where we'll post all these videos, and you'll see any pieces that we might write on. Dan's been doing a couple lately, so I will hopefully try to do a little bit more writing myself. So subscribe on there for any updates that we post on there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, of course, at Podcast Co. So please, thank you for watching, and we'll join you guys next week with some blended beers, and that should be interesting. So, all right, thanks again for joining, guys, and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm empty, so there you go.